Welcome back to Detroit Garage. Part 4 of the ZF swap on the Deere housing. 453T Deere housing.
Let's give them 2 extra.
This one here?
Yep. And then your way.
On the last video, we adapted or modified the Deere housing to fit the 453 profile. So on the 453, this side and this side are equal spaced and whatnot. So you can run a blower on this side or a governor on that side and vice versa. So the Deere didn't have that option. It had a different governor on it. So we cut it and brazed on the extension. So that fits nicely. So now I can get back to making the adapter plate. And the whole reason I'm doing this is to bolt the ZF6 onto the Silver Series 453T. And here it is in the truck. That's the whole purpose, to get rid of this large housing and make it easier to adapt to a ZF6. Eventually, it'll go into my F350 right there. That's got an automotive housing on it and a 5R110. So an automotive number 2 housing with the 5R110. It wasn't so easy to adapt the ZF6 after I made all the adapters for the 5R110, so I'm just making a clean build. So that's the reasoning behind this madness. I looked at doing a number 2 housing to the ZF6, and it turned out to be more work than I wanted. The adapters would have to come out 3.5 inches approximately. I'd have to remeasure it, but anywhere from 3 to 3.5 inches. So you'd have one flywheel with the spacers and then the second flywheel for the ZF6. Just too much. So I chose to adapt the Deere housing. So that's why I'm doing this. Once the hard work is done, like doing this section now, the adapter plate is made out of plexiglass, and I'll transfer it over to the steel plate 3/8. So I've dialed in the crank to center, put the ZF6 on top, and then we drilled the holes, drilled and tapped all the holes. So now all I've got to do is transfer all the holes over to this plate steel. So I got to drill a hole in the center, and then I'm going to use my new plasma cutter, if it'll do it, and I'll cut out the hole. So the plan of attack with this is to bolt the steel plate down to here. I had considered taking this edge off and running it flat on this plate, but what I think I'm going to do now is put the spacer in here and run the plate with the spacer around the edge like this, and that'll give me some extra strength on the 3/8 plate and make it 9/16. So just over a ½ inch. That'll be just about perfect. This is just an experiment. It might not work. Anyway, I think it's going to work really nice. So I'm running with this one and see what roadblocks I run into. So the art captain did a good job. I just have to learn how to use it properly. So it's just a cheap Amazon special, a couple $100. US about 150 bucks. So yeah, it cuts that really well. I've got it on 220 volts at 50 amps for that 3/8 plate steel. It cut that as nice, if not better, than the cutting torch. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So I just transfer the holes like that all the way across, and now go and drill them. So we transferred all the holes from the plexiglass over to the 3/8 plate steel. Yeah, that turned out pretty sweet. So what I'm going to do now is set the ZF6 back down and make sure these holes are all lined up pretty nice. So what I'll do now is I'll transfer the holes. I'll double check, transfer the holes into the 3/8 plate, and then I'll set the dowel for the transmission as well. There's two dowels, one on this side and one on that side. Yeah, very happy. Yeah, I like it. And then underneath, I'm going to put in a piece of 3/16 steel in there and weld it all along the edge to give that some extra strength. I don't think it needs it, but you never know. Better to be safe than sorry. And I'll get rid of this plate here. This plexiglass is, again, just for transferring holes. What I'm doing now is I try to get a 1/4 inch piece. It's just enough to fit under the main plate, the 3/8 plate. But I ended up getting 3/16. So overall it'll be a 9/16 inch plate. Took your advice. I'm gonna go without taking the 1/4 inch off of here, just for strength. I thought of that long and hard, and I'm gonna make the adapter 3/4 of an inch and see how I like it. I can always change my mind. So it's gonna be the 3/16 plate welded to the 3/8 plate around this border here. This area here is gonna go, and the starter is gonna be here. So, but we got plenty of strength. Run it all the way around here, down here, and around. So I'll leave a little overhang with the 3/8 plate and the 3/16 bonded together. I'll enlarge these holes, drill and tap them larger, and then be using these as a fastening device as well. So I think overall the main plate here is going to be 3/8, and then 3/16 on here will be a total of 9/16. So that's going to be plenty strong. I like it. So to make the contour here, we're going to cut it with the plasma cutter. I'm using cardboard. No CNC equipment in this shop. Don't laugh too hard. This works really good. It's an old trick my dad showed me years ago. I used to make gaskets out of this stuff. It works really, really good. So why not make templates from it as well? So I'll set you down and I'll just start out the piece, and then I'll bring it back when I'm done. There's lots of ways to do this, but this is my way. So I used to do this when I was a kid. When I didn't have money to get a gasket. 0 boxes were pink. Let me know in the comments below. You guys see 0 boxes for gaskets? There's just Velcro. Probably not. Okay. So I'm just tracing out the template. Okay, the pattern's traced out. This is the part we throw away, and that's the part we keep. So we'll get the plasma cutter ready and start cutting. So I just started a little pilot hole here to make it easier. Worked out pretty nice. I still have to practice. First time using the plasma cutter. Pretty nice. Okay, let me work on this a little bit. So all I'm gonna do is run a grinder in here just to dress it up and get it to fit. I don't think I have to make much adjustments. Okay, I'm just removing these the pour hole vents. So when they cast this steel, the cast iron, they leave vents in here, and that's what these are. And they just cut them off. See, they're like that. They're all over the castings. It's just to let air escape, and then the cast comes up through the sand, and then they cut them off. So I'm just removing them so that the piece of steel sits flat on the housing. Okay, there it is in place. So now what I'm going to do is put the 3/8 plate down on top and see how I like it. Should give this more than enough, should give it more than enough strength. I'd rather overbuild than underbuild. Okay. All right. So it should be 9/16 total. So it's 37/64, so very close to 9/16. Just a slight more than 9/16 deep. So very nice indeed. So the next operation on this one is to tack this to this plate and then spot weld it on the back side. So drill holes through the 3/16 plate and weld it to the 3/8 plate. That's going to be strong. Very, very strong indeed. And then I can trim it along here for the transmission. All right, there it is. So now what I have to do, just double check these holes one last time and then transfer them into this plate. I'll tack this plate together and then drill it as one plate, the 3/8 and the 3/16 plate. And that's plenty strong, 9/16 to hold the bolt. These bolts essentially. So there's 4 bolts that hold this transmission on, and they're bolted into the total 9/16. So that'll work really nice. All right, well, it's now or never. We've transferred the holes now, and we're going to drill the plate into the 3/8 plate. I'll drill and drill the 3/8 plate and then cut it and then weld the 3/16 plate to it, and that should work really nice. All right, well, we're just drilling the holes now for the ZF6. So I've drilled 5, and I'll drill the last one with you guys. Okay, with any luck, these fit. So what I'm going to do now, I think I'm going to cut around the outline of this and then bond the 3/16 plate to it and finish drilling the hole as a whole unit. I don't think my plasma cutter is going to cut 9/16 of an inch. So we'll do 2 plates separately. So it all lines up. I'm really happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is just cut the outline of the transmission. I'll give it a little bit of extra, maybe a 1/4 inch extra on the outside. So I'll use the plasma cutter for that, and I'll use the ZF6 intermediate plate that was on the 7.3 as a template. All right. So here it is. I'm just gonna run the plasma cutter around the edge. Give it a little bit of extra room. Well, I like it. So another test fit. It fits really nice. So we'll pull the transmission back off and then bond that plate to this plate. And then that's pretty much it, roughed in. And later on I'll make it look pretty. Okay, so what I've done now, I've just drilled holes to weld this plate to the adapter plate now. This is a 3/16 plate, like I said before, just to give it some extra strength. So that'll work out really nice. So we'll tack it on and then go test fit it again. Okay, I like it. Now I'll weld it up and then clean up the edges. So yeah, now I'll weld it up and then cut the edge. Now for the plasma cutter. Test fit and then plasma cutter. Nice. Okay. Now cut this with the plasma cutter around here and then dress it up. Okay, there it is. I'll finish drilling and tapping these holes now to bolt the transmission down to the adapter plate. And then when that's done, I'm gonna lift up the engine and test it and see what I think. There shouldn't be any flex in this at all. This should be solid, so really impressed. Very happy with the outcome. And once I'm happy with that, I'll dress this up and make it look pretty. But for now, it's just functionality. All right, guys, well, we've tapped 5 of the 6 holes, and all I do is start the tap on the drill and then finish it off with the hand tap. So I'll get it started and then bring it back for this last hole. I would change the belts in this and get it slow enough to tap, but I just get it started and then use the hand tap. There. There it is. Let's go fit it up and see. Well, the housing adapter is done for now. It's not looking pretty yet, but we'll do that later, and I'll set the dowel pins later once I finish making the crank adapter. So we're going to lift the ZF6 and the 453 block up and set it down and have a good look at it and just see how things look. So I'll use trusty Alice here and the 253. We'll lift it up and put the front of the engine down on the pallet and the rear of the transmission over here, so it's basically horizontal. like it. One step down. Several more to go. Gotta adapt that 6.4 flywheel to the Detroit crank now. And the ZF6 spins really nice. Both the crank and the ZF6 are nice and true. So very happy indeed. So when everything's said and done, I still have to rebuild the ZF6. It was jammed between gears when I got it, but it's freed up now. I don't know why, so I'll pull it apart and put new bearings in it if need be. Wow, that's a lot of work, but it's satisfying to have it done. So that does it for this video, guys. It's dragged on a long time. It seems like it. I'll edit the video and try to make it as short as I can. Very happy with the outcome. Couldn't ask for a better outcome. So we'll make that look pretty in time, and then the next video we'll be working on the crank adapter and the flywheel. So that's where the precision work comes into play. So that's going to be another challenge to get that to work. So one step at a time. Thanks for checking in, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care.